Ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Friday morning, Bakersfield and surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good Friday morning, my friend.
Happy Friday.
Let them know what they're in for.
We're going to talk a little NFL to kick off the show. We've got some baseball news, and then we have a full second hour talking basketball. We'll kick it off with snacks from Hits 93.1. And then our boy, Bolt Brady, will join us at 8:30 like he always does to help you win some weekend cash.
And I swear, if you guys do not utilize Bolt Brady's picks, you are doing yourself a disservice. Again, top 5% percentile in wins when it comes to handicappers.
And with some good games, especially a Game 7 coming up this weekend.
Shoot, we had two great Game 6s yesterday. Really disappointed in what happened in the first one, but we'll get into that later. I mean, well, you said it yourself, Sparky, when we were texting about it. The Pistons let it go. The Pistons had the game, and they
beat themselves.
Absolutely did. But again, we'll get into that more later. We want to start with a little bit of fun stuff here since it is a Friday, and there's plenty of news in the NFL that's not surrounded around Shedeur Sanders.
Whoa.
For the first time in God knows how long. So, Sparky, let's hit it with the first one.
Yeah, so there is Nike and NFL teamed up with some new jerseys. I know a few years ago we talked off the air. The Color Rush jerseys was a few years ago when the Dolphins wore the all orange,
the ketchup and mustard jerseys,
the Tang jerseys. But now
Nobody
they have
had an uglier one than the Seahawks, though. Can we all agree on that?
The lime green.
The lime green.
I like those.
Really?
But I'm also I like orange and teal.
I was gonna say, did you like the bumblebee ones for the Steelers too?
No.
The prison ones, as I like to call them.
That was horrible. But no, now they have some jerseys called the Rivalries jersey.
Ooh, okay.
And so they kicked it off this season. So they're going to do it each season where they pick two divisions and they can only wear them. The home team has to wear them, and they can only wear them, obviously, when they're playing a division team.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they will kick it off with the AFC East and the NFC West. So the Patriots, Bills, Dolphins, Jets, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, and the Cardinals.
Must be nice. But I mean, I'm interested. I like to see what these are. What do you think that we're going to get here? Are we going to get jerseys in the other team's colors?
I haven't looked them up because
I know
I have a jersey problem, and
let me see if I can find.
I'm nervous on
in front of me.
But the first move is debuting these jerseys in this season. Now, while teams are limited to 4 games with throwbacks or alternate jerseys, this is just another jersey that the fans can buy. Hopefully they are better looking than those Color Rush jerseys. But
all right, so let's see here. I'm not seeing any definitive pictures. Some of them look like they're just Color Rush, but I don't think these are correct. I think these are just like old ones that they've been doing. I am excited though, since we're talking about the uniforms and how they're changing a little bit. The NFL is laxing up on a lot of these rules, and we're going to actually get like different helmets and stuff too, which I think that
yeah, that's something that they are letting go this season, where they can mix and match.
Right. And you actually are going to get like the purple helmet and stuff for the Baltimore Ravens is going to look really cool. And that's really interesting to me, at least, because personally, I am biased. I think Atlanta's always had the best uniforms.
Oh yeah.
Ever since back in the Michael Vick days when we had the black and red and all that stuff.
I love the red helmet.
Always thought that Atlanta's had the best uniforms. It's probably why I started being a fan when I was so young. But I mean, when you are able to allow Nike, who's so just unique with a lot of these, especially what they've shown with the Oregon University jerseys over the years. Personally, I loved the wings on the shoulder pads back in the day when it came to Oregon. I thought that was cool. I was really hoping maybe the Falcons or the Eagles would get that on theirs eventually. I don't think that'll ever happen now, obviously.
So it looks like they haven't released any photos, because
I didn't see any.
I swear, if the Dolphins do the Miami Vice, I'm gonna lose it, because those are about
everybody
the
does the Miami Vice,
ugliest jerseys I've ever seen.
Come on, the neon pink and orange, you can't get behind that.
But as a fan, no. Hell no. And as the Dolphins, I'm always pushing, like, wear the throwback jerseys, wear the throwback like
Yeah.
the 80s. And they rarely let them do it.
Right.
So I'm hoping, I know they passed it this year while teams can do it 4 times a season.
Right.
I'm hoping that the rivalry is the 5th.
You know, probably, because usually when they do something like this, they allow for that little bit of leniency on the side just because they want to show them off a little bit more. So I think just to get people rallied around it a little bit more, yeah, this might be your mystery 5th alternate jersey for the year.
So, I mean, what is your favorite or what are the worst of the throwback or the color rush jerseys? Texted them in 661-842-2000. I'm going to say the worst ones, aside from those Seahawks lime green, I think it's got to be those Buccaneers orange creamsicle
yeah.
ones.
I'm not a fan of the creamsicle either.
And I grew up when they wore those, and those
Right.
were just horrible.
No, personally, my Tampa Bay's best uniforms, in my opinion, were during the
Gruden
red
days.
and the red and brown era, where they were really getting behind the Buccaneer side of it all. But
So you said the favorite for you is obviously the red and black.
honestly, yeah, well, my favorite uniform that I've seen probably has to be the Falcons black and red the black base red pinstripe.
So what's the worst
It's
out of all of them?
It's got to be the Bumblebee. It's got to be the Pittsburgh Steelers Bumblebee,
The prison ones?
Prison ones. Yeah, those are really bad. Or a very, very close second, and I'm sorry, Packer fans, but your old school ones, the blue ones that they brought back a couple years ago with the really ugly brown and green numbering and stuff like that. Like, you look like you were way, way back in the day when we didn't have color for a reason. Those are ugly too. But those are by far the 2 ugliest ones.
Well, growing up, the Dolphins never wore them, but I had a reversible merino jersey that had a black with the teal number, and they were dope. But I'm hoping that maybe one of these years they'll actually bust it out, because we already went through the all orange jersey with the Ricky Williams days,
right?
That I believe they wore on Monday night on Halloween when Cameron Wake got a sack to win on Halloween against the Bengals. That's why I'll always remember those jerseys. But I would say my favorite, the Falcons one, is up there, because I'm a Dolphins fan. But if I was ever going to wear another team's jersey, I would wear those black.
Our jerseys were so cool, Sparky. Another team stole them. The Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That's how cool the Atlanta jerseys were. Another team had to go out of their way to steal them. And yeah, I said steal it, Cardinal fans.
And I like the old school Raiders, the black with silver number.
Oh, 100%.
Those are always
like,
dope.
yeah, it's always going to be iconic to see those. I mean, and again, the way the Packers jerseys look now, iconic. You really don't need to change the green and gold. You really don't. But there are certain jerseys that maybe we should just bury those and just never show them again, including Steelers, Bumblebee, Pit.
That has got to be the worst
number. Like,
with the socks, I think the socks just put it over.
Honestly, and you know what bugs me the most is, when they usually talk about Le'Veon Bell on ESPN, they always pull up him with that jersey.
Show that picture.
And I hate it, because it's like, really? Like, of all of the jerseys and that he wore playing for the Steelers, this is the game you have to pull from every single time.
Ones.
No,
that's
just my personal opinion.
Keeping it in the NFL, the Bears are now very serious about bringing in free agent running back Nick Chubb. Well, which I was under the impression, I thought he was already signed with the Browns, but
I mean, we both were. When we both looked it up the other day, I swear it said that he was still under contract with the Browns, but I guess not, because obviously the video came out last week of him doing his workouts and stuff and looking as spry as ever. And honestly, since you missed out on Ashton Genty, why not? This guy is just as good. I know he's injury prone and he's had a lot of really bad injuries, which is what steers teams away, but it's Nick Chubb. And
I'm surprised.
Honestly, if he's split in time with DeAndre Swift, because he will, it's not going to be that much of a dinger on him.
And the Browns picked up 2 running backs in the draft,
so they're clearly not bringing him back.
So it spells like Cleveland's done with him. And I would think that he's probably picking his own team, because he would already been picked up.
I would assume as well. I mean, it's Nick Chubb. Like, he had a really, really bad year last year after coming back from the injury. But again, he was coming back from a very serious injury.
Yeah, and he didn't come back until week 10, week 11. So it was
rough. For a
Browns
team that had already given up on the season. So let's not really chalk that up to his play. I say he's going to come back, probably not as good as he used to be. I won't go that far, but at least a contributor to a team that can get you in the end zone.
Yeah, and Chicago would be a perfect destination.
yeah.
I'm just trying to think of other teams that might need that running back help.
Dallas.
And that's exactly what I was just going to say.
That's
Dallas.
the only team that pops up in my head when you say that is Dallas, or maybe a team that's just looking for somebody to contribute, like maybe Carolina. I know they're really in love with Chuba Hubbard,
man,
as
I
they
hope
should
not.
be. But maybe they want a secondary running back just to give Chuba a little bit of help, or or maybe a championship team like the Chiefs or the Eagles looking for something. Yeah, Miami could also benefit from him. A lot of teams could really benefit from a guy like Nick Chubb on the squad. It just, are you willing to take the risk of an injury-prone running back?
And ex-NFL star Steve Smith has taken another step. He is being sued for a new. It's a law that's only in certain states. Because trust me, if it was in California, we would have problems. But it's called the home wrecker law.
Okay, so explain this law to me, because I didn't even know this was a thing.
So I guess in certain states you can. It's where a spouse can sue the person impending or breaking up a marriage. And this guy, Anthony Martinez, who accused Smith of having a months-long affair with his wife, has filed a lawsuit, and he wants $100,000.
Of course he does. Because, I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and say this guy doesn't deserve the money. I'm just saying, like,
but where do you come up with that number?
That's what I'm saying too. It's like, so your marriage was only worth $100,000 to you.
I mean, isn't there like an unlimited price
again,
you could probably pick?
This is also the argument you can take when it comes to murder and stuff like that. How much is a human life worth to you? I feel sorry for Steve, and know the laws before you get into stuff like this.
Yeah, maybe not do that in North Carolina.
Yeah, especially a place that's old school like that, like North Carolina. But again, this story has always been kind of funny to me just because of that. And I didn't know that this was even a thing, though. Like, you shocked me with this morning. I didn't know there was even a thing called a home wrecker law. I think California needs to absolutely take this one in.
Well, I was looking it up and I read the headline. I was like, this can't be, you can't sue somebody for that.
Yeah,
and sure enough, in certain states,
we live in America, good sir. You can sue anybody for anything.
Well, another thing that came up before we get away from the NFL, I want to bounce off you. So we talked about the prank call solution yesterday. We talked about, it is 2025. Maybe we do the video stream.
Yeah.
So I was reading some other opinions throughout the league, and a media source came out and said, why don't we just let players watch it like the rest of us?
And they just
find
know
out when Goodell or whoever comes out and says so-and-so, the Falcons have selected Chris Burdick, and then
don't get me wrong. That would give you the pop factor you're hoping for.
And it'd be more entertaining.
I argue that one.
You don't think so?
Because here's the thing. Let's be honest.
Then you really see their face like, oh, damn, I'm going to Cleveland.
Well, but see, none of them actually do that. Let's be honest. As much as we love to joke about that, I've never once seen a kid pick up the phone that's about to get drafted by any team and says,
and shake his head.
Yeah. And, just do something of that nature. It's more to me like you need to, I think you're taking away the spectacle of it, because you have to get the hat and you have to know what hat you're wearing and stuff like that. So unless you're going to send, which I'm sure they already do, but unless you're going to send these guys, 4 dozen hats of different teams and then say, well, whenever your name gets called, put the hat on, then you're going to have.
Or they just use the AI.
Well, yeah. But again, I like our idea of just go to video calls. Go to video calling. Like, it's going.
Well, if you remember during COVID, people hacked into those too.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see a bunch of peckers during the video streams.
Well, no, that's not what I'm hoping for here.
Obviously not.
Like, it's not Chat GPT, but or not Chat GPT. Not what's that?
Zoom.
No, what's that one that you can like skip people? Chat roulette. Chat roulette.
I've never heard of that. What's that?
No, I'm not going to get into that. The internet knows.
Should I not look that up?
No,
on
do
a work
not
computer?
look that up. And honestly, if your kid ever tells you he's on Chat roulette, get him off that right now. I'm telling that to all parents out there right now.
You heard that, Bubba?
But no, I just think it's harder to fake that one, because granted, yes, you can put a filter over your face and have you say, "Oh, I'm this person," but you still have to show everybody else in the war room. You know what I mean? So like, it's harder to actually prank call people when it comes to video calls.
So going back, how many states do you think have this home wrecker law?
Oh, out of the 50
it's
states,
single digit.
It's in single digits?
It's a single digit.
5.
7. So
Huh.
there is 7 states that recognize the homewrecker law, allowing a spouse to sue a third party for interfering with the marriage. These states are Hawaii, Illinois, New Mexico, North Carolina, Mississippi, South Dakota, and of course, Utah.
I mean, yeah, but that Hawaii shocks me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, that's an out there one, but
And the legal claim is called alienation of affection. That might be my fantasy football team name
there
this
you
year.
go.
Alienation of affection.
There you go. I love that. But yeah, no, I think a couple states need to adopt that rule, especially California. We got way too many home wreckers. I'm not going to go any further with that, but we got way too many home wreckers around this place. Let's take a break, though, my friend, and pay some bills.
Yes, sir.
And
Well,
then
let's
come
text
back.
in. I want to hear what your favorite jerseys are. And are you, I mean, I know a lot of people wear their football jerseys, and, you know, I'm almost at the point where I only buy jerseys of retired players.
Yeah.
Because how the NFL is, and really any sport, as soon as I buy it, either he gets traded or retires or
Gets
goes to a
hurt
different
or
team or
something,
gets
yeah.
hurt. Exactly. So
It's bad juju to buy jerseys of players who are playing. Trust me, I bought a Vic Beasley jersey. He won. That was the year he won the sack title. And guess what happened the rest of his career?
nothing.
Not a dang thing.
Well, we'll talk. We got some baseball news coming up right after this break. The early bird special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. I see the joke there.
Oh, there's no joke.
I see the
It's
joke
just
there.
Friday. There's no better way to start off with some Limp Biscuit.
This is true, and I actually love this song. I really, really do. I love Rollin', but it
Love rolling.
definitely, oh, don't you start.
No,
Oh
I
my
just
goodness.
remembered there's a Woodstock special of the 1999 Woodstock
Uh-huh.
on Netflix. It's a 3-part like limited series, and it's actually really good. They talk about how the original guy that set up the original Woodstock in the 60s set up this one in the 90s and booked all these metal bands and the new metal at that time in the late
Yeah, it
90s.
was huge.
And but it was anger, and it was like right after Fight Club came out, and it was just aggression, and he didn't know who Korn or Limp Bizkit or any of these
No,
bands
I
were.
mean, they were just starting out, but they were getting big. I mean,
So the first night, he's like a hippie kid, or a hippie older man,
right,
but he's wearing like the short shorts and like a flower shirt.
right.
And then Korn comes out to headline or actually they didn't headline the Friday night. They come out and do Blind, like our intro, and he is just shaking his head. He's like, "What the hell did I do?" And then sadly, Bush had to come on after Korn
Oh,
the
Lord.
first night. But going into some baseball news, the Yankees moved Stanton to a 60-day IL and picked up Brian De La Cruz.
I mean, this is a big loss in terms of home runs, but if you're a Yankee fan, you're not that heartbroken because everybody knows Stanton is just as many strikeouts, if not more, than hits. So this could actually potentially help you guys out in a weird way.
And then a follow up with Trout. They put him on the 10-day IL list after a bone bruise on his surgically repaired knee.
See, it's already going bad. It's
So-
already going bad, LA. Just get him out of there. Philly is calling. Just get him out.
So, kind of a fun story for you baseball fans that go out to the wild or the ballparks for these crazy food areas that they only have at certain parks.
I understand that I am one of these people. I love food. I am a big foodie, and one of the best things about going to sporting events in general is the food.
At ballparks.
Oh yeah, specifically Dodger. Like, don't get me wrong, I am not a Dodger fan, but I will go to a Dodger game just solely to eat Dodger food. I genuinely will. It's that good. So,
I've had one Dodger dog.
well,
I wasn't
how long
impressed.
ago did you have it?
It was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, so you had it before the switch, then I think.
Hmm.
Okay.
And we won some tickets, and we were sitting in the section where we had to go, or they actually would deliver the food to us.
Mm-hmm.
It was right on the side of first baseline, and I mean, it was hot as hell, so I wasn't really impressed with
Yeah,
anything.
I mean, again, it depends on what type of day you go. That's why you got to go for a night game, my friend.
Yes.
The night game's where it's at, and then you get a little thing of ice cream before you leave too. It's ooh.
So there's 8 or 9 of these wildest things that you can only find at these ballparks, and of course, the number one is the one we talked about off the air, is the s'mores quesadilla at the
Oof.
Philadelphia Phillies
I have
ballpark.
dreams of this thing. Well, first off, I have dreams of going to the ballpark in general. That is my mecca. I will be there eventually, but like just to try that and the Philly cheesesteak, have to.
That
But
sounds bomb.
I mean,
But this one
the
has
s'mores
got-
quesadilla. Just
It's a flour tortilla stuffed with Nutella, mini marshmallows, graham cracker crumble,
Mm.
chocolate dipping sauce. Yeah, and you can only find it. To find it, you'll have to venture to section 142 of Citizens Bank Park. The other one is the Daddy Mac Dog at the Houston Astros ballpark.
I have heard of this thing. I've also seen some crazy ones in Houston, though. They go hard in Texas, especially with chili. And like, I'm all for that. But some of these just I look at and say, oh no, like my stomach could not handle that.
Well, this one's a foot long with mac and cheese, barbecue sauce, pickle, brisket, all of it just.
So basically, an entire barbecue spread on top of a hot
It's like
dog.
nachos on a hot dog.
What is happening? I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it, but wow, that's a little much for me at least.
And then Seattle, they have the What Up corn dog,
Ooh, okay, corn dog, got me on this one.
and it's a green corn dog.
Ew, you lost me, but
It's they have a different one. They have a Mariners blue one too, but it's honey battered, dunked in nacho cheese, and then coated with a spicy crunch. I mean, that sounds bomb. I'm not a big corn dog fan,
that
but
does sound bomb. But blue and green, you're gonna have to sell me on that. I'm not gonna get behind that one.
And then this one I wouldn't touch, but it's in Pittsburgh, the polished cannonball.
I mean, okay, that's a poor name for what just happened the other day at PNC Park.
Oh.
It's a very, very poor name, but okay, explain what it is.
Okay, so this one is stuffed with, let's see. These little guys are stuffed with a full meal of polished stapled egg noodles,
Okay.
cabbage, bacon, cheddar cheese, and some type of herb cream dip. Yeah, it just sounds
Is this
horrible.
ramen? Is
Yeah.
that what that is?
It's a
It's a
bowl.
bowl of ramen?
Yep.
Okay.
It sounds horrible.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't sound great. I wouldn't exactly be looking for ramen at a baseball game, but that's the only thing I could think of what that would be. I don't know what that is.
This one in Toronto has got the cotton candy fries.
Okay.
The Blue Jays are putting their twist on a concept of cotton candy fries consisting of fries topped with cotton candy, as well as blue caramel and some type of cream.
Okay.
It's like funnel fries.
So maybe this is a hot take here, but do we really need to do that? Like, you took two things that are really good
And then mashed them.
made nasty crap.
I mean, my wife likes a lot of these cooking shows, and there's one that a guy just goes around and goes to fairs and tries all these crazy little fried foods. And this sounds something like,
honestly, it just reminds me of the Jim Gaffigan joke. Fruit, good. Cake, great. Fruit cake, not so much.
No. And speaking of that, in San Diego, you can get the banana bread pudding helmet.
Wow.
Which,
Okay.
I guess there's 3 or 4 different ones, but they put it in the souvenir helmet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for 2025, the Padres have thrown their helmet into the ring. It's twist banana bread pudding that has banana slices, caramelized nuts, banana pudding with stuffed vanilla wafers.
Okay, you sold me on that one. I'll try it. I mean, again, the Padres Petco Park is really, really nice in general, but I never got to actually try a lot of. Well, no, that's not true. I tried a little bit of the food while we were there.
And then Kansas City has a blue velvet whoopie pie.
Oh, what would what now?
A whoopie pie.
The purple people eater?
Pretty much. This one is the presentation is just as important as taste when it comes to these whoopie pies. These babies are designed as dude, it doesn't even make any sense. There's it's basically a red velvet cake.
Right.
Jump to the other side of a color wheel. So it's like a blue
velvet cake.
And I like velvet cake.
I do love velvet cake too, but why are we calling it a whoopie pie? That doesn't make sense. I don't okay.
And then the last one is in Texas, of course. The boomstick burrito.
Okay, now there's pause.
It says it's comically large.
Yeah, would assume so.
But it is a unrolled tortilla with pretty much everything we mentioned in a nacho, but they're throwing it all in a burrito.
And this is for who again? The Rangers?
This is the Rangers.
Yeah, that's of course.
It's got brisket. It's got sour cream. It's got nacho cheese. And it's 26 inches long.
Okay. Can we say this, though? Texas people, although everything is bigger in Texas, let's be honest.
Even the women.
The food ain't that much better in Texas. Whataburger is absolutely overrated.
Really?
Oh, 110% overrated.
What about the barbecue?
I actually haven't gotten to try the barbecue, to be honest with you. I was only in the
well, we both worked with Scott, so he always says the barbecue is better in Texas.
Now, again, Scott thinks everything's better in Texas. A lot of people do, and that's good for you. But I'm gonna pass on the giant death burrito or boomstick burrito again.
Boomstick.
Pause. But
what about the whoopie pie?
Yeah, I'm pausing on that one too. No, that and the green corn dog, you lost me. I mean, like, some of these are odd. Can we just do the good ones like Philly?
Yeah, I think I'm going with that one.
I'm cool with the quesadilla.
I
think the s'mores quesadilla sounds fantastic. Everybody else, let's dial it back on the crazy foods.
Well, we had some fun with these parks. It's making me hungry. I've got a half-eaten donut right over here. So we're going to take this break. We'll come back and we'll recap the 2 games of last night in the NBA and then preview tonight's game before we get snacks in here. And we'll talk about the round 2 games right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Not gonna lie, I was expecting painkiller.
I was gonna I was gonna do all that yesterday, but I'll give you love. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
keep batching on this.
it is what it is, dude. Again, these things happen, so we're moving on. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about here, the reason why we were not here on Wednesday, because I was in a very serious car accident on Tuesday, right after the show with our guy 24 kg. We're both alive and well, thank God. But it is what it is, and we're getting past it. Obviously, again, if you were watching on YouTube, I have a little bit more mobility in my neck today, but I am definitely still hurting, and hopefully we'll be back to at least semi-normalcy on Monday. So we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully you get some rest this weekend. But
Definitely going to a doctor again this weekend.
the Knicks and Pistons game 6, it was a winner go home for Detroit, and
And the boys let me down. Gosh dang it.
I mean they
now
beat
what is this now?
themselves.
10 games in a row now at home in the playoffs you've lost. You haven't won a playoff game at home since 2008, as we said yesterday. I mean, and they had it. They had it in the palm of
did.
their hand, man. And
They
third
did.
quarter came out and the Knicks just slugged them and they didn't know what to do.
And then the fourth quarter, that last 6 or 7 minutes is just when the Knicks took over, and there was some botchy calls. There was also some botchy basketball. I mean, just overall, they were tripping over each other, just doing stupid, almost rookie mistakes.
Honestly, Jalen Brunson, the defense on him at the last part of the game was unfortunately so aggressive. It was too aggressive. That's
Yeah.
why he flew off that quickly. If he doesn't play it that aggressively, I don't think he makes that shot. I think he gets obviously it's a much harder shot for him to make, but you can't allow Captain Crunch Time to do that to you in the final seconds.
And that was what 6 or 7 minutes, or the Knicks just couldn't score.
Nope.
And if it wasn't for the timeout, and they kind of revamped, but Brunson hitting that 3 with 5 seconds left, it pretty much locked it in. They took the win and the series 116-113. And this is Brunson post game.
I think every series is different, but we can learn from our experiences as we go on. I don't want to say it's going to be different, but obviously we're playing against the defending champs next time, so it's going to be a lot different. Playing this team that we just played, I'm not discrediting them at all, but the Celtics have experience, and playing these guys, they were just physical. They brought the fight to us, and then we had to respond, and then we did. Every series is going to be different. You got to respect each opponent you play, and then you got to go from there and make adjustments.
Beautiful answer from him. Beautiful answer. And honestly, the East is pretty much going the way everybody thought it would. The top 4 seeds made it to the second round. Now we're going to see a much more competitive series between the Boston Celtics and the Knicks than I think we would have between the Pistons and the Celtics. And now whether the Knicks can have a good chance at upsetting the Celtics, I don't know. That's where all of this is going to lie, is how each of these matchups are really going to work out. And if Jalen Brunson can really keep up this 30-point barrage that he's
We're
been
gonna
on
need some
in the
help.
playoffs.
I mean, he put up 40 last night, but he's going to need some help. I know Towns fouled out with a couple minutes left.
And I know we love to talk about Luka being traded and all of that and how much that affected the Dallas Mavericks, but do you think Mark Cuban is annoyed enough yet that he let Brunson go?
I would.
I would be. I would absolutely be livid at myself for looking how this guy plays in the playoffs and saying, wow, we could have had that. Like that's incredible.
I mean, what do you think about, I mean, I know we're going to talk just in a few minutes with Snacks about these series, but you'd said yesterday, Boston swept New York in the regular season. And I would say the last 5 minutes, just watching it seemed Brunson against the Pistons. I mean, he wasn't getting any help, and I don't even think he was looking for any help.
And that's what scares me about the Knicks, is that you have a starting 5 here that should be seen as all stars, and you don't. You see Jalen Brunson and friends. You know what I mean?
Running around in circles.
And that's what kind of scares me. That's why I keep saying that they need to focus on going through Cat more in the offense, because you need to get him involved and get him in that 20 to 30 point range. Because if you do, you're more likely to win, in my opinion. And when you're playing a team like Boston, who literally anybody on that starting 5 could go off for 20 to 30 points a night just because of how they play and how they shoot, that is a problem if you're the Knicks, because I can't say the same for you, at least not in the playoffs. We know Jalen Brunson's going to get 30 points. We know Cat is at least going to somewhat show up in some sort of way, whether it's 15 to 20 points. What we really need is you have to figure out what the other three guys and how they fall into all of this, and if they can actually even handle playing that and covering guys like Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis, because those are the three that you're really going to have to worry about going forward.
And then moving on to the second game, the evening game, Clippers survived. They forced a game 7 with Denver. And I mean, that one was a close one too. Clippers pulled it out by 6, 111-105.
I was like, you're going to have to explain this one to me because I missed the end of the game.
Well, it was just ugly. I mean, Harden played better. I mean, he finished with 28 points. Leonard, contributed 27 points, 10 rebounds, but they just looked lost.
Mhm.
And the one good thing that I'll say is the key point to that win was containing Jamal Murray.
Mhm.
Because, after that big game 5, I mean, he was at one point, I believe he was 21 points, but the garbage points in the second quarter and the third quarter, and then he was just gone in the fourth.
Right.
But this is I mean, looking at game 7s, the win over Harden's first elimination game since 2020. And Joker has played in 6 game 7s in the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing new for him. He finished with a triple-double like normal. And I was going to go to Joker, and this is what he had to say with, going on to the mindset going into another game 7.
Yeah, we had like probably 5, 6. We had 2 in bubble against San Antonio one time, Portland 2 times, one time, right? So it's just another one. I'm going to approach it just another one because I play every game. For me, it's like really important. Every game is important, and every game I want to win. So I'm going to play as a regular game.
You got to love that mindset from your star player. Go into every game, no matter what it is, and just feel like a game 7. And at this point, I think Joker is the guy you're going to have to lean on to actually get you through this series. Although I agree with you, Sparky, that Murray is the one they're probably going to focus on containing the most, because if Murray goes off, it's a runaway. But I just, this matchup has been interesting the entire way through. It's been back and forth, obviously, the entire time as well. Now we're going to have to go back to Denver and see how this all ends. But I'm not going to lie. If you're a Denver Nugget fan, I've said it since the beginning, this worries you, because if you're having to go 7 games with the Clippers, imagine what you're going to have to do against the Thunder, even if you make it past this series. But I won't lie. Like, who would you rather see take this one? Because honestly, I'm starting to lean towards I want to see Denver.
See, I've flopped back too. I'd like to see the Clippers.
Yeah.
Just because I like the all-around team effort. I mean, Denver, you don't know. You know what you're going to get out of Joker. But after last night, it just looks like ugly basketball, personally. And this is one of the games I circled because I really want to hear what Snacks and Bolt Brady have to say. I know it's going to be a good game. It's Saturday. I believe the tip-off is at 4:30.
Mhm.
And as of right now, the line is the Clippers and 1.5. So that's how close the odds are. And then tomorrow, or actually tonight, is the game 6 for the Rockets and Golden State. That one,
I'm pretty confident we can all say we're wrapping this up tonight.
you think so?
Yeah. I don't.
After Kerr benched pretty much everybody in the second half.
Well,
and
again, I think he did that strategically.
Yeah.
I think he knew,
Give him some
okay, this
rest.
game is already done. Get these guys some rest so we can come out in game 6 and just blow them out of our own barn. You know what I mean? And we're talking about the Warriors here. We're talking about a team that has closed out more series probably than any other team. I shouldn't say that out on the air because I'm sure it's not true, but you know what I mean? Like, one of the most dominant teams of the last 10 years. And it's hard to say that the Houston Rockets have shown me anything that says they can come back in this series. Great. You won game 5 at home. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You showed up once. The other games you have not. So
Houston's going to need it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's obviously
They're going to need a
go
big
home.
game out of there. And this is a game I'll probably try to watch, but I'm going to hold off because I want to hear what Snacks and Bull Brady have to say. I know the line, I believe when I checked this morning, they've got Golden State at 5.5.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And honestly, again, it all is going to boil down to what Jalen Green you're going to get to show up tonight. And
he hasn't.
No, he has not. And if if they get the Jalen Green that came out, and I think game 2 and dropped 30, obviously we're going back to 7 games and we're headed back to Houston. But I don't see that happening.
Neither do I.
So.
I think the Warriors will get it, but I would like another game 7 just for entertainment.
It would be interesting, especially with everybody else moving on to round 2, that they would still be in round 1 though, because unless it would be the next day, because Sunday's games are the beginning of round 2, correct?
If they go to a game 7, it'll be Sunday morning.
Oh, okay. So it'll be before any of the round 2 games.
It'll be before the Pacers Cavs game.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that and much more. There's some news out of LA, and you're going to want to hear it right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Keeping it in the NBA, the Sacramento Kings are keeping the interim coach Doug Christie around for the long haul. Christie went 27-24 during the time with the Kings after stepping in after Mike Brown was fired.
See, I understand wanting to ride with your guy. I really do. But I mean,
27-24.
That's what we're shooting for here. There are much better coaches out there. I mean, again, not saying Doug Christie's not a good coach, but come on, you could do better than 27-24. And let's be honest, we said it on the show a couple weeks ago when they were in the play-in tournament. They're one of the most streaky and inconsistent teams in the NBA. So if that's really what you want, then all the more power to you, Sacramento.
Yeah, and we talked about Halliburton's father yesterday, and now the Pacers have came out and said that the father, John Halliburton, will not attend the team's home or road games.
You don't want the smoke.
The foreseeable future.
He don't want the smoke.
No.
That's what it is. He don't want the smoke with Donovan. That's what it is. He learned his lesson with Giannis and said, I need to stop trying to fight these boys.
You want to mess around.
Why you want to mess with these players right now? I mean, again, I feel bad for him a little bit, though, because it's like, I don't know if he's being punished for this now or if this was his own choice. But was that said in the story? I can't remember. No. So it could be either or this could just be the dad saying, well, fine, if I can't go and talk my talk, then I'm not going to go at all. You know what I mean?
My love here.
Exactly. It's like, you don't want who I, you know how I am when it comes to the game. So if I can't be me, I'm not going to be there. Like, I totally get that. I've met a lot of people that are like that, but it's just, I feel bad for him in a way. Cause it was an altercation that didn't need to happen. It is 100% on Mr. Halliburton's fault though. Cause Giannis had no idea who the man was at first.
And nothing official, but news out of LA camp is LeBron is going to come back for at least one more year. The reports are coming back. If he does return, he's set to make close to $53 million this season.
Woohoo! I
know the guy doesn't need the money, but it's kind of a selling point.
Well, the positive is that means Bronny gets a job for one more year. I mean, again, we kind of assumed he was not going to hang it up after this. Knowing LeBron, or at least not knowing LeBron, but watching LeBron my entire life, I feel like I can say that I don't think he wants to leave on this kind of a note. It would be much bigger of a note. And it didn't really fit right. I don't think that this was really going to be his last year. I know everybody said, well, he got his 1 year with Bronny and now he wants to retire. Well, let's not forget right after that 1 year with Bronny, he came out and said, well, maybe I could do this a couple more years and do it with Bryce too. So I think that's on the table.
Is that the last kid?
Yes.
Okay. Just making
sure.
I
mean, he has a daughter, but he can't play in the WNBA. So,
well, Andres Snellings says this is the real reason.
I did not read anything into what LeBron said last night. I feel like that's the standard thing he says at the end of the season. If anything, it could have been a little bit of a jab at Luka that like, hey, there's a chance that I could leave. So if you want to try to build a championship squad with me here, I'm going to need you to lock in and come in as cut up Luka to start next season. But outside of that, I would be shocked if he walked away. I note that LeBron has another child. We know about Bronny's on the team with him and he's got his daughter, but he also has another son, Bryce, whose team just won the state championship and who potentially could be joining the league himself in a couple years. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if nothing else, LeBron might want to stick around to see if he could get Bryce into the league the way that he did Bronny.
So, well, I don't think he's going to need to do that. I still stand by my statement that Bronny would have made the league had he just stayed a couple more years and developed his game at the college level, especially at USC. But Bryce is going to University of Arizona next year. Will he be a one and done? I have no idea. We'll see, I guess, if LeBron wants that to be a thing. The taking a jab at Luka thing, though.
And this is what it was going to set up my comment, because JJ Redick had this to say.
The work that's required in an off season to be in championship shape. And, we have a ways to go as a roster. And certainly there are individuals that were in phenomenal shape. There's certainly other ones that could have been in better shape. That's where my mind goes immediately is we have to get in championship shape.
And everyone knows who he's talking about.
Well, okay. But again, I state this because this has been his argument the entire time, but everybody loves to just take jabs at Luka's weight. And
you know what you were getting.
Yeah. And this isn't like a Zion situation where it's like grossly overweight. Let's also remember that European players and European athletes are way different than us. Like Alex Ovechkin pounds beers after hockey games. You know what I mean? Like they're a different animal. They go about their lives completely different than us. There's a reason Joker plays at his own pace, and no one takes jabs at Joker's weight. Joker's out here pounding beers too and jumping on horses. Now, granted, he's winning championships, but
and playing triple doubles every game.
But that's my point, is that my only gripe against Luka is he plays like Peyton Manning to me. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean by that, by he complains about everything.
Yep.
Peyton complained about every no call, every single one. Rightfully so, but he did. And people hated him for it. And Luka's the same way. If he feels like he got touched at all, much like LeBron does, they go overboard with the referees because they know they'll get away with it and the refs will get tired of hearing from him. But that's my only gripe against Luka. It's not even his weight. I don't think his weight has anything to do with it. I think you don't have the pieces.
Yeah. When you're playing without a center.
Yeah.
And
it's easy to blame everybody's conditioning when you didn't adjust.
Yeah. And Luka is not, all pro defensive player.
No, never was.
But my question is, that stirred up the pot, which we don't need to get into with all the crazy different, what side you're on. Are you on with Luka? But there's been rumors, where maybe Luka isn't the long-term answer, which what they gave up for him, I mean, they can get in and out of it, but the signing looked like this is a long-term, post LeBron type signing.
Absolutely.
You'll have the superstar, but overall, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. They are missing some pieces. This isn't not a championship team.
No.
But with the amount of money we talked about, the $53 million that, LeBron's going to get and what Luka's salary is going to get, I don't think they have enough money to bring in some type of, veteran, Durant or Giannis or something like that.
No, you don't have enough money to pull in a third star, but you have enough money to go get solid role players. Like, that's my thing. That's what I need. I shouldn't say I need. That's what I feel like the NBA needs to start focusing more on. And I hope if Cleveland or OKC or Boston win again, they kind of start to see it. It's not necessarily about the stars. The stars are always going to be there.
Do you think this is just a cop-out? Let's just
100%.
put it off all on Luka.
Yes, 100%. JJ didn't make the necessary adjustments during the game. Their center is eating you alive because everybody on the court was a foot shorter than him. Why not send in the guy who's the same size? Make adjustments, man. That's the whole point of being a coach.
Yeah, welcome to LA, Luka.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, I feel for Luka, though, especially since all I've heard from Laker fans lately is Luka is fat and lazy. Come on,
you knew what
guys.
you were getting.
You now sound like Dallas fans. Or not Dallas fans, sorry. The Dallas front office. Because the fans definitely weren't calling
It even
Luka
got to the
fat.
point where I heard Kendrick Perkins last night saying he agreed with Nico's trade.
That's ridiculous. Again, I think a lot of people are going to start feeling that way in the next couple of days, but we'll get into more basketball talk on the other side. You're listening to the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the early bird special. Ow. Sorry. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky.
Poor guy, dude.
Back tenses up randomly. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we could not get a hold of our buddy Snacks. I'm sure he is just waking up. He'll probably give us a call as soon as he can, but we have plenty of NBA to talk about with round 2 coming up this weekend. Starting with the game tonight, as we already kind of teased, you'll get the Warriors and the Rockets tonight in their game 6. Warriors currently leading the series 3-2 and are 5.5-point favorite over the young Rockets team. I gotta believe this is where we wrap it up, Spark. I mean, you get playoff Jimmy and playoff Steph coming out on the right foot at home. I think it's going to be really hard for a young Houston Rockets team to pull off an upset here.
I mean, I'm surprised that it's not wrapped up already, personally. But I mean, I just hope it's a good game. You know, we saw some lopsided games in this series,
Right?
so I'm hoping it's at least some good basketball. This has been a long week for both of us, especially you. But I'm hoping that we can relax and, you know, watch some good basketball this weekend.
That's the plan. I mean, obviously, you're going to get round 2 starting up on Sunday. The Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Indiana Pacers. Probably one of the better series that we're going to get here in the second round, especially since there is, much like the Pacers and the Bucks, there's like a little underlining rivalry between the Pacers and the Cavs. I mean, interdivisional teams, they play each other all the time. They're very, very familiar with each other. And honestly, when you want to talk about teams that have a starting 5 that are built very well and built to play together, I think the Pacers have to be on that list as well, much like the Cavaliers and the Celtics and the Thunder. The Cavs have been strategically built for the last 5-6 years. It really has. Like, there are players on this team that have been drafted here very much like the Warriors did a couple years ago, and it's really starting to benefit. And I think the Pacers have made a similar move with their starting 5, because you got guys on there like Evan Turner who have been there forever, but Tyrese Halliburton obviously was a pickup from a trade from the Kings a couple years ago and has emerged as their superstar. And I think that's kind of what you get with Indiana, is they know that they're not necessarily superstars on the court outside of Tyrese. I know everybody calls him overrated, but I personally see him as one of the better players, at least at his position. And because they're all so evenly, I guess their games are all even. Like, they all see each other as equals. And that really helps their team, because as we saw a couple games ago, 8 guys scoring in double figures for your team is going to spell success for you, no matter who you're playing against.
And do you think, I mean, I'm hoping that we get a game 7, but going into, you know, the what's the other one? The game 7 with the Clippers in Denver.
Yes.
Going back to that
On Saturday.
Do you think that one is more for, I mean, is it a bigger weight on Denver just because of, you know, the star stud, you know, the Joker, or is this more that they can kind of sneak out even if they don't pull it out, but they won't be pointing fingers like the Lakers?
I mean, again, I wouldn't expect anybody to be pointing fingers like the Lakers. No one,
because that last month has been rough for Denver.
Yeah, and again, I don't think you blame Joker for their loss if they do end up losing here. I think you went up against a team that, again, they were the hottest team in basketball coming into the playoffs. They were, I think, an 8-game win streak at the end of the year, and you handed them their first back-to-back losses since March. So you went up against a very tall task. Again, I've said it since the beginning of this series starting. The Nuggets are the team that were in the most trouble to me because of the matchup they were up against and the way that they were really just handling themselves with the coaching changes and stuff like that.
You know, hurt yourself.
I swear, I really need to stop doing that. But I think this is actually a good or a better for them, because personally, I didn't think you would make it 7 games. I thought you would have got bounced in 6 at least. So for you to have fought in this far and keep your season alive, I think is a better sign for Denver than it is a bad sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we had 2 texts over the break. One says the Lakers will be fine. LeBron will be back though and rested. He expects Luka to be healthy and in shape.
See, I argue this to you, Laker fan. How do you feel about the rest of the team? I know you guys love
that's-
Luka and LeBron. I get that. But how do you feel about Jackson? How do you feel about Finney-Smith? How do you feel about all the rest of these pieces that clearly are not the right pieces to get you to where you want to be?
He wrapped up by saying Brooke Lopez is headed to the Lakers.
I could definitely see that, especially with them desperately needing a center now. But I feel like you'd be better off with a defensive-minded player than an offensive-minded one. But that's just me.
Well, the Lakers GM came out yesterday and pretty much said he'll do anything he has to keep pretty much LeBron happy.
When you make a seismic trade at the deadline, your roster and the building around it, it's kind of like trying to build an airplane in the sky. One of our primary goals is going to be to add size in our front court at the center position, and that's going to just be part of the equation. We have, multiple free agents too. Obviously, those questions will get answered in July and in August. But we know we have a lot of work to do on the roster, and it'll look different next year for sure.
How aggressive they're going to be is really going to be the question. You need to make moves and get the role players figured out. So,
I'm going to go
that's
back.
Where I stand with it.
I'm going to go back to the Luka deal. Not talking about his weight, not talking about the lack of defense. You knew what you were getting when you got Luka. You got the all-star Luka, and other. I would say like Canty. Not. I'm going to go away from the Perkins because that guy will say anything to get a sound clip. I just do not like Perkins. He almost reminds me of Stephen A. Just a low dose of him. But he had this to say about the future and keeping Luka there.
I think he's a Laker long term, and as a Lakers fan, I don't love it. I don't. I have serious doubts about the sports character of Luka Doncic. And if getting traded in the cloak of darkness in the middle of the season wasn't enough to wake you up, to make sure that you get yourself into better shape, to make sure that you're more intent in terms of being engaged on the defensive end of the court, then I don't know what will.
Well, that's what I wanted to bounce off you because obviously this is a long-term trade.
Yeah.
I don't see – I mean, the Lakers have done crazy crap over the years, but I don't see them trading for a superstar like Luka, which they didn't really have to give up much. That was another conversation. They didn't even have to give up their first round in 2031 or whatever it is.
Right.
And I've heard, other reporters say that if the Lakers want to build, they don't think that they could build around Luka.
Right. Well, okay. I disagree with that. I think you can easily build around Luka if you just did, you found players that actually matched his skill sets. But again, the fact that Laker fans are now not happy with this trade because you lost one series, calm down. You went up against a much more talented team, in my personal opinion, and with an equally as big superstar on their team. Anthony Edwards is a stud. Like, I get it. You're Laker fans and you have all of this, like all these expectations for being in LA and championships and stuff. I totally understand that. My actual argument that I just thought about, though, while hearing this sound clap, Sparky, and I kind of want to see what you think about this. Does the legacy of guys like Kobe kind of kill it for guys like Luka in LA? Because these fans are so used to perfection and guys that literally will work themselves out of a gym instead of what Luka is so used to, which is more of just free flow, play as my heart believes, and make plays happen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, over the years that we've seen both sides of that. I
Right.
mean, I can bring up players like Dwight Howard and
Right.
that were supposed to be the next coming of Lord of God pretty much in LA land. But I mean, just Luka just doesn't. I know he's a great player. He's an MVP caliber player. It just seems a weird like vibe with Luka and the Lakers fans. I don't know if it's just because he's that type of player that you just mentioned, that he's not the hard gritty type, like Kobe's and
he's not going to go work
LeBrons.
out for 4 or 5 hours a day, but he will go to a gym and shoot baskets for 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like,
But do you see, I mean, looking at the history of Lakers stars, I mean, does Luka, he doesn't even line up to those types of players.
No.
So they've either, and I'm not a big fan of JJ Redick personally.
I think JJ got over his head. I know JJ is a brilliant basketball mind. I'm not questioning that. But in terms of being a coach, you have to know when to make adjustments, dude. Like that's bare minimum. And in this game, you let a guy in Rudy Gobert who was averaging 3 points and 6 rebounds to kill you.
It just shows. It just shows that. I mean, I think he's going to find himself a new job after next season. I just don't think the Lakers culture is going to be. They need a better coach. One, they need the depth, like we've been saying. But being LeBron's boy is always helpful when you're looking for a job. But
again, I think that got his foot in the door, but I don't think that saves your job.
No. But I also think if they're going to build a team around Luka, and obviously with LeBron staying for at least another year, I just don't know what they can do. I know getting somebody like Luka halfway through a season, that should have been the excuse. We're still experiencing things and kind of trying to put a team together instead of pointing the finger and say we need a team that's in championship shape. Is kind of a weak, especially from your head coach.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like that's the weakest excuse I've heard, that we weren't in championship shape. Like really, that's what you're going to like. And honestly, to me, that's his excuse, not even for losing last game, the game before. He's making excuses for 2 games ago. Well, we weren't in championship shape. Really, dude? You expect your team to play an entire half? Like, I know people have said it. That doesn't happen very often. I won't say it never happens because it does happen. But to sit there and say that you need to be in championship shape, you're already in the playoffs, brother. That should have been a thing a while ago. And you as a coach should have been on them to do that a while ago. So don't sit there and make excuses for it now. Again, personally, you lost game 5 because you didn't make adjustments. You allowed a player to eat you alive and then sat there and said they'll fix it themselves. That's a player's mentality. JJ needs to get out of the player's mentality and into a coach's mentality.
Yeah, and remember, he's a head coach.
Exactly. You're not on the bench, homie.
Not the teammate.
You're not the assistant coach. And I get it. Like, I'm not saying you don't talk to your assistant coaches, but I'm saying you yourself need to stop thinking like a player and start thinking like Phil Jackson. Start thinking like the coaches that coached you, the Doc Riverses, all those types of guys. What would they do in this situation? Because I promise you right now, the best coaches would have made the adjustment in the second quarter. They wouldn't even have waited for halftime. They see Rudy Gobert go off for 12 and 6 in the first quarter. They would have said, big guy, let's go. Slow that guy down.
Well, before we, we can go down the round 2 games and the weekend's matchups, but I wanted to bounce this off you before, and we did have a text that we could wrap up this segment with. Cool. It goes back to barbecue.
Fantastic.
But I was listening to Stephen A. yesterday, and I know we're both Anthony Edwards fans.
Oh, yeah.
And do you think this season's playoffs makes a change of who Anthony Edwards is? Does he need to succeed in the playoffs this season to have that player, that role of people, Anthony Edwards, yeah, he's a good player, but is he elite? And it goes into what Stephen A. Smith was saying. I mean, does he really need to take his team to at least the Western Championship? And let's hear from Stephen A. and then I'll bounce the question off you.
If you don't have the championship, they're not going to give it to you. But if you come out of the West, a West that includes LeBron and Steph and SGA and Jokic, and you're the guy that come out of the West, and oh, by the way, en route to coming out of the West, you beat all those people, that would be different. Now, if you didn't face them, Jay, that would be different. But if you faced them, I mean, he's already beat KD, sent KD home, sent Booker home, swept them, okay, took Jokic game 7 on his home court in Denver, took him out.
Oh, he has the pelts.
Okay, and then now you take LeBron and Luka together out, and then, oh, wait, who they got next? Who they got next? Golden State. You beat Golden State, and then OKC gets to the conference finals, and you take out SGA? Oh, yes, we got to look at it differently then. That body of work,
that's a gauntlet.
The bodies that fall by the wayside, I can't ignore that.
No, I see his point. I don't think he necessarily needs to. I think Ant's already in that conversation. If you don't have Ant in that conversation, I wonder what you watch in terms of basketball, because this kid has been that guy. He was that guy last year, like he said, when he sent the Denver Nuggets home. You know what I mean? Like, he was one step away last year, and Luka sent him home, unfortunately.
So you don't think he has nothing to prove?
No.
I mean, in that conversation,
In that
obviously.
realm, no. I think he's already proven it. Now, again, like he said in the beginning, you win the championship, it's undeniable. But in my personal opinion, Ant's a superstar. Ant's one of the top 5 players in the league, and I don't think he's number 4 or 5, to be honest with you. And it's just it's easy to sit there and criticize him, but like Stephen A just said, you've taken out all the best outside of Curry. And
hopefully, I mean, if you're right, Golden State pulls it off, and that's our next matchup.
yeah, and you have a good chance of doing that. I don't think you necessarily need to knock out Steph, but I mean, it would definitely build his legacy a little bit more if he did take out a juggernaut. Like,
we'll have that
Warriors.
credential.
Yeah.
We'll go into our text, which reminds me, you can text in anytime with your comments or questions, or even call in. It's 661-842-2000.
And you guys on YouTube can also comment on our chat. I try to go and check that as much as I possibly can too, but right now, obviously, I'm impaired.
Well, this one says, yo, guys, it's Bobby C. You're right. Whataburger is overrated. And please don't tell my fellow Texans I said this, but barbecue is better in Texas.
I will agree with okay. I take Bobby's word. Bobby is a good friend, and trust me, this is a Louisiana boy, so he knows what he's talking about. And I'm telling you, brother.
Well, if he's a Louisiana guy like me, man, that Cajun
he's a Louisiana
food,
boy. We got to figure out how to get him a T-shirt.
People overlook Texas or overlook Louisiana and just go straight to Texas. The best food I've ever had is and was in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Best Cajun food, best spice. I mean, even if you go to Popeye's Chicken,
best time you'll have is in Louisiana.
Oh my gosh, man, it is a great
time.
time.
To Bourbon Street.
But text in 842-2000. We'll wrap up previewing the weekend's matchups, and then we'll welcome Bolt Brady from Bolt Brady and Bro to see how we can help you make some money this weekend right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. You know, I love your music choices, and this is why it's so painful because
Top of your head.
so much.
Oh, our boy says, I asked him, of course, I'm going to talk food at 8 in the morning, but I
Naturally.
asked him what the best barbecue he's had in Texas. He said Franklin's in Austin is the most popular. The Corkscrew in Spring, Texas is superb and is the best he's ever had.
There you go. That's from a Louisiana boy himself. So if you're listening from the Texas area, go down and check that out. I don't know. I would like to be able to say I could, but I mean, hey, we're all the way in here in California. Send me some. Maybe we'll go that route. Send me some. I'll wait. I'll barbecue my dang self.
So we got the Rockets at Golden State tonight, game 6. Tip-off is at 5 p.m. And then tomorrow will be game 7, the Clippers and the Nuggets. At tip-off is at 4:30 p.m. And then Sunday, if needed, game 7 will be the Rockets and Warriors. And then game 1 of the Pacers and your Cavs.
I mean, just wrap up the series, dog. Just wrap it up. I'm sorry, Tyrese. You guys had a good run. You had a fantastic run the last 2 years. I am very much like I grew up a Jermaine O'Neal fan, so I have some love for the Pacers.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking about what good Pacers teams, because I heard part of Kerr's show yesterday. They are not big fans of Reggie Miller's commentary,
Which is ridiculous to me.
but it reminded me of Jermaine
Reggie.
O'Neal and his headband.
Yep, and
how gangster he used to run down the field.
The only man that would actually go one-on-one with Shaq and not back down. Like I loved watching Jermaine play. It was so much fun. And also, happy birthday to Paul George, longtime Pacers player and California native, Palmdale born right here. So technically somewhat local.
And The Rock.
And The Rock, yeah. The high chief, the final boss, the man,
whatever his name is.
yeah,
now.
the man
Rocky
that leads
Maivia.
everybody in the TKO area, I guess, of the brand. So,
and I know we'll wrap up the show with a little wrestling talk, but I watched the trailer last night. I went to see Thunderbolts, which they named it after my girl's soccer team name. Is that whole story around why they call them the Thunderbolts? But you'll see the movie. But the trailer
is that
before
what they tell them?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can give you the real answer right now
from the comics.
Yeah.
They say
that's why you got the asterisk in the corner. By the way, that's why they would it has nothing to do with the way the comics actually did it.
Of course, they have to put a little switch on it. But yeah, they say what's it? The Red
Hulk.
No, the Red. What's her dad's name?
Oh, Red Guardian.
The Red Guardian said that was her soccer team's name when she was little.
For those of you who are not watching on YouTube, I am rolling my eyes so intensely right now.
But yeah, it was a good movie. But no, the trailer for The Rock's new movie, the documentary type movie of the UFC fighter.
Right.
It is creepy how they changed. I don't know I know he's ripped in the movie, but his facial expressions and the paint or whatever they did. I mean, he is whiter than me in that movie, but it looks crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They use old school frames, so you can tell it's like a old
love
UFCs.
it when they do that. I wish movies would do that more often, where you mimic the style of which the time period was. I like it when movies do that a little bit more.
But let's wrap this up because we got Bolt Brady on the line from Bolt Brady and his bro, and he's going to break down these games. And I want to see. I know he's a big basketball guy, and I know he's the one of the top 5 handicappers around. But I wonder if he does any favorites for the Kentucky Derby.
I'm curious about that as well because I mean I feel like every handicapper has to put something in on the Derby, right?
And I know Scott wanted us to ask him about the race.
Oh yeah, the Miami Grand Prix or whatever. I don't know if he knows anything about that, though.
I don't think anyone does, really.
I don't think so either. As much as we I know there's a lot of racing fans in town. If you'd like to call and educate us, feel free to. We are not very educated in the world of racing. So outside of the name Max Verstappen, I really have no idea who is the big names in racing. And when it really comes down to one guy winning every race, it kind of draws me away from wanting to find out the rest of the names.
And I know we're not hockey experts, but we will have a hockey expert starting next week. We got our buddy Neil from
neglecting the Stanley Cup playoffs.
2 Goats and the Goose will join us next
I have
week.
So many friends that are angry with us right now because we're not.
I've heard it
hockey.
too. But we'll come back with Bolt Brady right here, the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. It is a Friday, and when you hear that song, you know what it means. Our boy Bolt Brady from Bolt Brady and his bro is in the house, and he's here to help you guys with any picks you have for over the weekend. Call in right now or text in 661-842-2000. If you have anything you want to ask Bolt while he's here with us. Sir, how are you?
What's going on, fellas?
Oh, I've been better. I know Sparky's okay, but I've been better. How you feeling, man? How's the week been for you, and how are your picks looking?
Well, it's been well, right? The Wolves took care of business like we thought. That wasn't even close,
No.
right? I mean, Ant just totally took over that series. Rudy Gobert, check this out. He's only the fifth person ever to get a 20-20 in a closeout playoff game. He joins Shaq, Joker, Dirk Nowitzki, and the Greek Freak. Not too shabby of a crew there to join.
And you know what? And Shaq had to actually
Almost threw up when he was saying it.
Yeah, no, really, at that point. But I mean,
saw that.
I thought it was interesting just because the Timberwolves went 0 for 18 and 3-pointers at one point and still won the game. That has to tell you something if you're a Laker fan, right?
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of people that are bummed out there because apparently the Lakers were the team that was bet the most to win the NBA championship.
Right.
So that didn't work out very well. It was funny.
Why.
JJ Redick mentioned they need to work on their conditioning. I think
Right.
he's kind of pointing the finger at one individual.
So we talked about that in the first hour. I mean, is that a cop out or what? Because I mean, it seems it didn't really have a game plan for that last game and playing with no center in the second half. And I mean, it looks like they're just missing another piece in that team.
Well, I totally agree. Like JJ's got to take some responsibility. The game before when he played the entire starting lineup the whole second half without any substitutions. That's the first time that's been done in like 25 years. So I think there were some coaching mistakes on his part too.
Absolutely. I mean, what I think is what it really boils down to outside of the lack of help for Luka and LeBron on the defensive side. I mean, you have to make adjustments if you're a coach. You're letting Rudy Gobert eat you alive. Come on now. You look like Yao Ming for a second.
And it's just funny how quick. I mean, we're surrounded by Laker fans over here. So, I mean, a month ago it was, we're taking the title this year. We got Luka, and then now just in the last few days,
He's fat, overweight.
He's fat. He's overweight. They don't want him there anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You guys were all gung ho for this trade a couple months ago. This seems interesting to me.
Yeah, losing brings out some interesting opinions in people.
I have to agree. But we got a couple interesting games going on this weekend. Let's start with tonight's, my friend. How do you feel about the Rockets and the Warriors?
All right. Well, last week we took the War Dogs. We're going to do it again, but I want to clarify. So the line is 5.5, right? And we talked about money lining the teams before when you're just betting them to win the game. Now you have to put down more, so it's 225 minus 225. So what that means is you have to put 225 down to win 100. And most people out there, which makes sense, is like that's a lot of money. But if you're normally put down $50 a game, that's fine. Put down 50, and you'll only win 22. Some people don't get excited by that, but listen, it's better to take money home than to give it away. So I like the Warriors money line because minus 225 implies a 69% chance of winning. And I have this closer at 80%, which would be minus 400. So I see value there money lining the Warriors tonight.
Fantastic. What do you feel about your Denver Nuggets going on Saturday?
Well, so here's the thing, right? I think we were in agreement that, we thought the clip show was going to take it. But as soon as that dunk to win the game that Aaron Gordon did, I think that flipped the series right there. I didn't think that the Nuggets were going to win last night. It's just too hard to win on the road. But when they go back home to D-Town, I'm going to be taking the Nuggets. That's a best bet, too. I would money line them because that game's only minus 1.5, and you can get them money line for 115. And that's a 53% chance winning. If you ask yourself, do you think that the Nuggets have a better chance of winning the game than 53%, then you should money line the Nuggets with me.
And then I have a little bit of a self-deprecating question for you. How do my Cavaliers look on Sunday?
Oh, the Cavs. So the Pacers look pretty good, but let's not get carried away. It was 5-1 against the Greek Freak, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So I think the Pacers will win 1 or 2 games maybe, but the Cavs are going to roll them.
I was thinking the exact same thing, so I'm very much happy to hear you say the same. And then we had actually a quick question for you. Do you pay attention to the Derby at all, the Kentucky Derby? Is that like a universal thing for everybody?
You know what? It's funny. I do not. People have asked me that. There's only so many things that I can keep an eye on, guys, and horses isn't one of them.
I have to say the same thing. And everybody's been asking, does Bolt gonna have any picks for us for the Derby? I have no idea.
Yeah, we have another host that sits right behind us in our sister station. He asked about the Formula One. I'm like, dude,
that's a stretch, my friend. I don't know anybody. It's like Max Verstappen. That's it. There you go. Put your money on that guy.
Right. No, I've heard Formula One's cool to watch, but I've never got into it. I mean, there's so much going on that you just kind of want to focus on a few things and try to become really good at those. At least that's what I try to do.
Well, since you brought up the Pacers and Cavs series, I'm going to throw it out there just to see what you have to say about it. But game one will kick off with the Knicks and Celtics. I know it's Brunson versus Boston. After watching this series, it almost felt like the last 5 minutes of that game, it was Brunson versus everybody else. So, I mean, is that the type of are we looking at a quick sweep, or do you think New York gets a game or two out of them?
I think they'll probably get one game because, you know, the Celtics always kind of check out for a game or two.
Mm-hmm.
But you're exactly right. It's 5 against 1. I mean, Brunson, that move he had, that three-pointer, that was sweet. You know, he's like one of the number one clutch players in the NBA, which is 5 minutes left in the ball game and the game's within 10 points, what the stats are with that much time left. And he's one of the best players, if not the best player. But, yeah, he's not going to be able to take on the Celtics all by himself.
That's what I was thinking. You have to get guys like Karl Anthony Towns going at some point. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep up with these high-powered offenses. But
yeah, I was looking at the early line this morning, and, I mean, it's Monday's the game one. They had Boston in 8.5. I mean, I don't see that moving much. Do you?
No, and, you know, at first glance, that kind of seems like a lot of points. But when you get these teams like the Celtics or the Warriors at home, it's so tough to beat them on their home court when the crowd gets rocking. You know, I would lean Boston there. It wouldn't be a play for me, but I would lean with Boston there.
Fantastic. Well, do you have any other sleeper picks for us for over the weekend before we let you go?
Not really. I would say I think the Warriors are going to close it out, and that's going to be awesome when they play the T-Wolves. That's going to be an interesting series. I'd like to see what the odds are on that. But I do think it's going to be the Cavs and the Celtics in the East. The West is still up in the air.
So I have a quick question for you then, since we just brought this up. We were just talking about this before getting you on this show. Do you think Anthony Edwards needs to knock out Steph Curry to really solidify himself as the next best superstar in the West?
I heard you guys talking about that. He's definitely a superstar in my eyes too. He's only 23, so I think he still has some time. So I don't think he needs to knock off Steph. I think he's still a baller.
I have to agree with you. I don't think he necessarily needs to, but it would definitely help the legacy going forward. Can't complain about that, right?
And overall, you know, we're all basketball fans, so I'm looking forward to this weekend and the second round series. It's all kind of lining up with great basketball. So that's what I mean. I'm looking forward to. If you guys are looking for Bolt Brady, just check it out, boltbradyandbro.com. Plus, you could find his podcast on all major podcast platforms. Personally, I listen to him weekly on Spotify, and I think that's it. I think next week when we'll kind of dive into round 2 and see how we're looking.
Sounds good, fellas.
Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
Take care. We'll take a quick break, pay some bills for us as well. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And don't forget, go follow us on social media and YouTube at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And to wrap up this week, we got a couple fun stories for you guys. Plus, I'm going to give you a rundown of what's going on tonight on SmackDown and WWE live from Cleveland, Ohio. But first, Sparky, what do you got for me, my friend?
Oh, over the last week, we've seen some like NWO type videos from Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. And digging in more, it seems like it's a wrestling league, but the more I read into it this morning, it seems it's more like voice type, where they'll have like backstories, sob stories,
So they're going to have their backs turned while they do individual wrestling moves and then just hit a button and hope that it was a cool one?
Yeah, I like him. I
Yeah,
like him.
like-
So what I saw is the structure of it is, well, I mean, it is called the Real American Freestyle. Anywhere Hogan can branch his beer, and the video last week that announced that there would be a third man, and it was announced that it's legendary amateur wrestling coach Izzy Martinez, and it looks like there'll be 40 athletes from 80 to 40 years old, including Ben Askren, Kenny Blades, and some others. There'll be 8 weight classes, 8 9-minute matches for men and 4 for women. And the first event is planned for this summer in Cleveland, Ohio.
Interesting.
And competitors will receive bonuses for wins and championship purses. So there'll be money involved with. I mean, they've kind of how the WWE and buying into TNA and their
Right.
NXT. This seems like the only other option that Hogan can probably try to capitalize. I don't see
Right.
it happening. I don't see a lot of viewers, but who knows? I didn't expect from AEW still to be around.
Yeah, I mean, well, AEW is funded by obviously somebody who
Money.
can keep it alive. But this to me, I mean, anything that will get amateur wrestlers that deserve to be in the limelight, more limelight, I'm all for it. And I think this is something that's going to do that. However, I'm kind of with you. I don't expect this to go very long or have very
Especially
much
with Hogan's
success.
name on it, but
Yeah.
it looks like the presentation style says that they'll be taking storytelling cues from the voice, where they'll have like in-depth bio packages, about the competitors.
Right.
They'll focus on like stories and create some like audience connections.
Right.
So I would expect like the sob type stories where they came from, and
So they're taking LFG and just going a step further.
pretty
essentially,
much
is what's happening.
and obviously the goal is to complete or compete and get these amateurs names out, where TKO or they even brought up UFC, so it's not just the WWE like
Right.
NXT amateurs.
Which is awesome. That's what I'm saying. Like that, any type of movement to get amateurs or guys looking to get into the space more limelight, I am 100% for. But does having Hulk Hogan a part of this kind of ruin this for anybody
It
else?
does for me.
And
I'm not a big fan of Bischoff either, but
Bischoff I can get over. Bischoff, I'm like, okay, at least you gave us WCW and you did all this. You fought for what you believed in. So I'll give you your grace. And obviously you and Vince, buried the hatchet at the end of it all. But Hulk Hogan?
at the beginning I thought, okay, is this something that like there's been rumors about, Vince starting up
Right.
a
Or at
new
least
independent,
buying a independent scene and trying to build it back up.
and then a couple months later we're hearing this, with Hogan and Bischoff teaming up, and I know Bischoff was at WrestleMania.
Yep.
So I mean, is this aside from the WWE?
I don't think this has anything to do with the WWE. They would have slapped their name on it if they did. And honestly, I don't know. I think the WWE is kind of more on my side on this. Not saying that I know, but it's more of like
Anything for amateurs type thing.
kind of, but at the same time, they're definitely going to benefit off of this because any of the best names are all going to get picked up by AEW, WWE, TNA, all of those guys. But in this case, so they will benefit from it, but I don't think they're going to have anything to do with it. You know what I mean? They're not going to fund it or help them keep it alive.
Yeah, we're not going to see Hogan commercials or
No, because I think they
during Raw.
realize that, or at least the WWE does, that their fans don't like him anymore.
No.
They really don't. We all see what Hogan is and who he is off the screen. No matter what he did for the world of wrestling before that, it's not going to fix how much of a POS he is in real life. And honestly, as hateful and as critical as the IWC can be, the International Wrestling Conglomerate, or whatever you want to call it, the fans of wrestling, they are very, very devout to the people they love, and they are very hateful to the people they hate.
Yes.
And Hulk Hogan is not in the area of people we love anymore. He's really not. Like, maybe to the older crowd, you guys still love him and go for it, I guess. But the people my age or around my age definitely don't care for Hulk Hogan.
Well, I'll probably second that, because just as wrestling fans, we'll probably watch the first episode or second. I'm big on the LFG, and I'm so buried with.
It's so good too. They had the kids show up in NXT this past weekend.
Oh, really? I haven't watched the last episode either.
Yeah, they showed Anthony Luke, Shiloh, and Jasper Troy all stare down Oba at one point, the champion of NXT. They're building for these kids to finally come over.
And see, I didn't think I would like LFG, but it pulled me in.
See, it's always those types of shows, though. That's why I like my garbage TV that I love is like the challenge, the real world challenges, where they do those types of things. And this is something along those lines. So it's something I enjoy. But when you dangle out, oh, winner gets a contract with NXT, they're all going to be on NXT.
Yeah.
Every single one of these kids was handpicked because they're the next in line. None of them are competing for a contract. That's not how this is working.
They're not going to turn down the business.
No, absolutely not. They're all going to get their chance in the limelight eventually because they're all that good.
And speaking of LFG, did they let that guy back?
Yes, BJ Ray is back.
Oh, God.
BJ Ray took his spot back and they let Cutler go. But again,
oh, really?
It's because Cutler is now in NXT doing something major with a faction. So he is actually a step above everybody in LFG, which is, again, why I sit there and say for everybody who's like, oh, well, he has to win the contract. No, he doesn't.
He's already got one.
He's already got one. They all got one. There's a reason they're all in the Performance Center. Like, they're coming. This is just them saying, hey, here's the next 16 kids that you're going to see on NXT really tear it up in the next year. And honestly, they all have really great talent and really great personalities. I'm excited to see it. I'm very much excited for the future.
That's one thing I didn't like at the beginning of LFG is when they get into the sob stories. And I'm like, okay. And it was the same thing with, like we talked with comedian Dan Betts with the other shows.
Think about that with this upcoming thing, just to circle it back with the Hulk Hogan thing.
Yeah.
Are we going to be okay with it with Hulk Hogan's product? Because let's be honest, not only are we already saying this when it comes to wrestling, you want tough guys in wrestling. You don't want the sob story that much unless it's a really compelling story. But even on top of that, now we're talking about wrestlers that nobody is really connected to or engaged with like they would be the WWE people. There is no backing of, you know who this guy is.
That's why I don't like shows like American Idol and The Voice, is because it takes away from their talent. It's the sob story, the Disney story that is tagged along to it.
And most of the time you can tell who's going to win based on the sob story.
Exactly.
So,
and it takes away from the talent that I'm trying to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But going into wrestling, is there anything planned for SmackDown that's been announced?
The only two things that have been announced so far is you will get a match between Aleister Black and The Miz. This will be Aleister's first match back since re-signing with the company, and it'll be a good one. I promise you that. These are two technical wrestlers that are fantastic at what they do. And it's just going to be a barn burner. I can't wait for that one. And then we will hear from Randy Orton, who will talk about, his upcoming match with John Cena at Backlash in a week and a half. So,
oh gosh,
I'm excited. You can sit there and say, oh gosh, all you want. This is a rivalry that I love to relive as much as I can in my life.
Luckily, I can pre-record and fast forward through a lot of that. So.
I mean, that's also true. So if you don't enjoy it, you can always skip it.
Our final segment of the week. What are we watching besides LFG and wrestling? Of course, some NBA basketball.
Myself, I'll be watching the inside of my eyelids for the most of the weekend, to be fair with you. But I mean, I've been wanting to dive in on a couple different things. I need to still go see that Until Dawn movie in theaters, the horror movie that came out. It looks really good. And obviously, you saw Thunderbolts. I still need to go see Thunderbolts as a nerd as well. So that's probably what I'll be looking into, as well as catching up on One Piece for you anime fans out there.
And then the trailers in that one, not only am I excited because Tron is coming out soon,
which looks fantastic.
The Final Destination one looks cool.
I can pass on that. But
there was another horror movie that they, and the NFL one. That's what I was going to bring up. Not an NFL one, but the football one with Jordan Peele that he did.
Oh yeah,
with Marlon Wayans.
The horror, horror movie.
That looks awesome.
That looks incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's Jordan Peele. I think I can say, at least for myself, there's not a lot of movies Jordan Peele has made that I did not enjoy, or at least are a part of that I didn't enjoy. Even the Cat movie, Keanu, I actually kind of like that. That was funny. So,
I liked all of his movies so far, but enjoy your weekend. Hopefully, Burdick, you can get some rest.
That's the plan.
And we'll watch some basketball. Bolt was saying he thinks Golden State's going to pull it. They've got a 5.5 point favor over it. And then Game 7 tomorrow, Clippers and Denver. I think both of you took Denver.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Cleveland or the Clippers this weekend.
And bet the money line. Don't forget, that's what he told us. Bet money line. That's how you're going to get the most probability to win some money this weekend. Enjoy some basketball. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby if that's your thing. We'll talk a little Derby next week on Monday. I got a friend that's probably going to come in and help us out with that as well. And we'll catch you up on the Stanley Cup playoffs next week as well. You've been listening to the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. We'll see you next week.